come back and they remade the lobby elsewhere and then they've already gone. So yeah. Nice of them to wait for me. Okay, Clem vs. SKillous now. Bottom right of Babylon. It is SKillous. Top left it is Clem. Now officially a team kill. Yay. As I had said before, the SKillous being on Team Liquid has been basically unofficially official. For not a year at this point, maybe like 6 months, I suppose. The most Twitter addicted of you might have even seen a mistake by the Twitter social media accounts of which they posted a photo a few months ago with SKillous in it. Deleted it after about 30 minutes, I believe. Anywho, already talked about how cool it is that SKillous was picked up for Team Liquid. Clem picked up a while ago. Also was a ton of sense. Him and Hearthstone at the time, I believe, right? For 2020 Katowice, and then Hearthstone moved on to another awesome team, shot by Rebellion. Point is, Team Liquid, great team, great people. Probably one of the most the finest, shining example of an esports team. Because they do seem to be widely successful, both in terms of marketability, money making, as well as actual champions. Many other teams do quite well. So now that I've gushed over that, please send me free stuff, Team Liquid. Thanks. We can talk about this TVP. Babylon. So a new map to talk about. And TVP does usually start off a little bit slower. Most PvPs just got rocking and rolling way too fast. So let's see here. By Sha. That's not a name I'm familiar with. Fairly small map with standard expansion patterns that feature 4 cliffs. Hold on, is this a small map? This is a rush distance map. Here's I think this map belongs to the rush category, even though it has 4 cliff levels. Hold on here. 1, 2, 3. Is that down? I don't know. I don't actually know where the other cliff level is. Maybe I'm missing something. That seems like 3 to me. What are you? A Rubu? Get the hell out of here. Alright, I'm missing something. I'm not sure, but I'm going to continue reading the description. Besides short rush distance, is because it features a linear third base, relatively open on the low grounds. This one we're watching right now. And short if the rocks are taken down. These rocks over here. These rocks over here. They're going through the middle of the map. That's very, very short. The triangle third... Wait. Nope, I'm wrong, guys. The linear third. Relatively open on low grounds. Triangle third. Attack, pass, straightforward, and short if the rocks are taken down. Okay, yeah, there you go. Better explanation. Even if the rocks are not taken down, it's still possible to attack the triangle third from the high ground of the base next to it. Here. Destroying the tuckable rocks will easily shorten the travel time of your attacks. These ones. Okay, got it? Good. So a little adept scouting, not even harassment. Clem did go for a basic 1-Rax expand into Widowmine drop. SKillous looks to be going into a basic 2-gate Link third expansion. Pylon appropriately placed so he can help scout for the Widowmine drop, of which a lot of Terrans right now, as of the past 7 days, seem to be going up through the middle because it is not expected. And it's been hit or miss. So let's see what Clem does. Some Terrans are also sending their Marines up through the middle and then doing the medevac drop in a more typical location. Either way, you're trying to get that little bit of extra distraction, surprise put on the Protoss so that there is a chance the Widowmines actually do damage, when theoretically, in a game like this where nothing is really happening, professional Protosses should never lose more than 2 probes to the Widowmine drop. I say should, because it is not guaranteed. We have seen pros mess up big time. For no reason. Not even gonna bother. Clem dips in, sees the stalkers waiting, dips right back out. And the blink was fast enough to be done, so that was a good call. What the medevac is able to see, so this is a feature of a map that you might not be thinking of immediately when you look at new maps. You know, some of you might be thinking rush distance, what third do I take? How easy is it to attack the third? Where's the destructible rocks? Is it a choke? Is it a ramp? Sure, all those things. Is there a perfect pillar? That's another one, right? Another thing is the accessibility of the natural gases in terms of scouting for them. So, rather than Overlord can stay here and survive and say, oh, look at that. Or it can't. You know, it can't go back here for one reason or another. Whether the gases is one here, or not even both here, but rather both over here, which I don't think exists on any map. But the point is, these ones are easily accessible by the medevac, which can plant itself into the dead space. And if it needs to, can check back in on those natural gases. The fact that he's already seen that there's two of them points to it being a high-tech build after the Stalkers, so not mass Zealots, basically. So whether that's Fast Storm or Fast Colossus is still technically not known, but I would say more often it's Colossus. Actually, nowadays, I feel like I'm seeing more Storm builds, so something that Clem has to be worried of and perhaps might be trying to figure out based on other factors. How is the defense going? How many Stalkers are there? Is there a High Templar that seems to be out of place? Obviously, it would be a big tell, but yeah, the Colossus does pop out. I think Clem would have deduced a while ago that that was most likely. Hoped for an opening, did not find it. Interesting notes. SKillous takes the linear third base with the open low ground. Clem takes the triangle third base that is hit by things on this base. Not really by Protoss, though. It's basically siege tanks is what they're referring to. Siege tanks would hit some of the army that would be over here, but nothing hits the actual command center, which is very important, right? One of the first things I'm sure they tested on the map. Colors on the map are not great. I'm actually not minding them. It's a little, like, muddied, I think is maybe the issue. Lots of different terrain and lots of different locations, and then their filler stuff. I don't know what to call this. The things that make it so that you can't plant your units on it. They create different spaces. This stuff is also very modeled. Like, it's a bunch of different colors. So I think that's also not great visibility-wise. So like this, I would initially think, what am I? Not gonna get a big hit. I would initially think that the rocks were where the end of like where I can land, where I can't land would be, but it's actually the fauna over here. Seven SCVs went down. Sorry, I think to a zealot run by. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that. Observer is able to see exactly where the army is, so it's gonna be very easy for SKillous to know when he can throw out units. And considering he doesn't really need zealots on his side of the map after that initial defense, and now being up to 3 Colossus, it's fine. He will eventually need stronger buffers for his army, but not now. Now he's fine. 4 base is coming up for SKillous as we have a very typical TVP. Can try and bring in some of the brand spanking new features of version 1.9. Disruptor AoE nerf has been changed, slightly buffed for the Protoss by 0.025. So it's still worse than the ones you guys are playing with on ladder. Better than the patch last week. Oh, Observer finally got scanned and killed. And the Ghost steady targeting, which is not really used in this matchup, but I guess technically can be, now has a maximum range of 14. Yay! But we are still talking about the patch where the EMP does not get upgraded. Does not have its, I forget the name of it right now, enhanced shockwaves, but its base EMP is now 150% of what you guys would be used to. It was 100% without the upgrade, then 200% with the upgrade. Now it's right in the middle at 150. EMPs will be making an appearance very, very soon, but not soon enough for Clem, who's going to be kind of forced to take the battle. Actually, he gets the Warp Prism, which I would say is definitely worth it. Widowmines got cut off by the Force Fields, but still burrowed and still shot. And Ghost be damned, those Archons melted regardless, whereas the Bio just slightly less melted. All right, the Protoss army was the cookie. It melted in the oven, and the Bio was the chocolate chips that miraculously, someone had to figure this out, does not melt in the oven. It's a fucking miracle. Genius. That's why we have chocolate chip cookies that don't look like shit. And now Clem is 30 supply ahead. Is he gonna win right here, right now? Probably no. It's possible, actually. The shield party overcharge is gone. Still enough Vikings to take down a single weakened Colossus. Assuming he doesn't mess up micro-wise. A couple of force fields gonna try and make him mess up micro-wise. Yeah, the Colossus might as well have just sapped itself and trying to do damage. Yeah, this is game over. Yep. The distance between the reinforcements here and this fourth base is pretty insane because these rocks were broken down. So I don't know what the actual timing is. I will find out once these maps are official, guys. But if we had to guess, rush distance winding past the rocks, main base to main base, the SKillous is definitely dead, guys. We can talk about other things. I'm gonna guess it's something like 32 seconds. One of the shorter maps. That is the shortest. That's a second faster than the shortest map of the last map pool. And then cut it down to breaking the rocks to, you know, third to third or third to fourths, whatever. Probably like 15 seconds, man. SKillous really does want to win this game, but he is still pretty screwed. So I'm going to go ahead and watch some units make their way across the map. Send another unit, damn it. Of course, rush distance is also specifically the worker, so it wouldn't quite be accurate unless we had SCV be pulled, but... All right, 36 as the Marines head down this ramp. Oh no, they're gonna rally to the north now. Oh, okay, well this is just unsuccessful in so many ways. As is SKillous's defense. Segue. GG. Clem takes the 1-0 lead. Hungry for cookies and milk? I bought discounted mini black and white cookies just because I kind of felt like having a cookie and they were on discount. And they were freaking delicious. So I bought them at full price. Apparently a lot of people don't know what black and white cookies are. They are what they sound like. As far as what makes them different taste-wise, I'm not actually sure. In this case, they're very soft. I think that's one of the things, they're a very soft cookie. And then it's split down the middle, white one side, black the other side, which is why I call that Star Trek episode the black and white cookie episode. I think I talked to some Europeans about this and they were... I think I made a joke based off it. It wasn't even that we were talking about food or something. It just was like, I made a joke. Perhaps talking about the Star Trek episode. And I was like, oh, the black and white cookie one. And they're like, what the hell is a black and white cookie? Racist. Because that's what people say. And I had to explain to them how I guess it's kind of a American thing and sometimes like very specifically a New York thing as well. Even the cookies that I bought here that is not New York, or I think I called New York Deli black and white cookies. So anyways, number 2 is going to be an ancient cistern, which I believe I had to Google how that was pronounced, and I think I'm nailing it. It's SKillous. The top right, bottom left, it is Clem. You guys can have a cat. What is a cistern, you might be asking, and I definitely know I'm not currently Googling. It is a tank for storing water, especially for supplying taps or part of a flushing toilet. Ah, that's what I've heard it before. I thought the chocolate chips melt, but they say contained by the dough. I'm not sure what the dynamic is, honestly. I think that it is just a different melting point, but it's been a while since I looked up that fact, so. We can get someone to Google for it. So, ancient cistern. Cistern. Anyone remember that episode? Ancient Cistern by Sky Piranha. Okay, Sky Piranha 1, also a new name. A balanced layout which provides room for many different strategies. Wow, that is opposite of knowing what the assignment was. Buddy, pal, Sky Piranha. A little bit more here. Standard. It's a standard map. So I'll go over it. I'll be the, I don't know, nature documentary. It's got no natural ramp. What seems to be a gateway, 7x core, 2.5 kind of wall off. It is a standard map, so I would assume that the rush distance of the high ground versus the high ground of the main with an SCV would be probably 35 seconds or over. I'm not actually sure what the reasoning for rush or not rush is, but that's what I'm gonna go with. It is green, because it is ancient, and ancient things are green. And we are getting a proxy starport over by the waterfall, which there may or may not be a cistern. Third base can be triangle or vertical, I suppose. Vertical looks to have a choke that can be somewhat abused by tanks in good position. And the triangle third also has a choke. An even more chokey choke. And to try and get a big surround on this particular third, whoops-a-daisy, would be quite difficult, actually. You'd have to really set that up far in advance. Also, its first 5 bases are actually on, technically, the high ground. So that's it for that. I've got nothing more to add. I don't know what other features this map includes, because they weren't listed. So, let's watch the Hellion drop. Let's watch it maybe end this game. Now, SKillous does not exactly know what is going on, but it did see that it was a reactor factory. What is the worst case scenario from a reactor factory? That's right, it's the proxy starport. Could have been 2 Hellions, 2 Wood Mines, but it is 4 Hellions. Now, that pylon really did SKillous a favor, but sometimes it still is not enough. 1 Hellion down, still one-shots the probes at 3. We need to get that next Hellion killed. Shield batteries in the main, so it looks like SKillous did take the threat of such things very seriously. But with Hellions still one-shotting, when they were at 3, they still got 10 probe kills. So the last one goes down, the medevac will survive, and SKillous is now behind by 3 workers. I would say the minimum damage done by a Hellion drop, the most minimum damage done I've ever seen, I guess, is 0. I've seen a couple of games where the Phoenix catches the medevac as it pops out, so that's 0. But in the last 2 or 3 years, I want to say the Hellion drop almost always gets at least 7. I'm going to go with 7, maybe 6. It does almost always do damage. The real kicker sometimes is whether or not you can hold against the counterattack. So does the Phoenix that was being built get some more SCVs and Marines and the Cyclone picked off and all that good stuff? Does the Stalker counterattack do damage? Were they actually 4-gating you and now you're in trouble? Well, in this case, it was just a typical 2-gate expand from SKillous, so the amount of time he had to cause trouble on Clem's side of the map was very, very low. If the tank could not cover, he might have gotten a couple of add-ons or something, but not the case here. Isn't the Cistern where the dude doodled on the ceiling? That is the Cistern. Ah, that's funny. I like it though. That is a lot of dead space. Or not dead space. It's a lot of space, just blank space. It is a lot of space in the main, which contributes to the power of Blink Stalker attacks, because tanks can't cover all of the entry points, so you don't get that initial first shot that guarantees that it's slapped down. It also means that once they're up, they can start microing around, so the tanks, again, can only cover so many locations. So professional Terrans very quickly pick up on this, and they create their SimCity in a very particular fashion, and then eventually start compensating for vision over here for, like, Warp Prism drops, right? But for us plebs, kind of just like being like, holy shit, I'm banking 1,000 minerals, let me slap down everything. We often just put shit over here, and then it gets picked off. This also has kind of, I guess, an opposite effect. Well, in TVT, this is going to have 2 effects. One, again, you place all your buildings on the left side. The tanks over here will have no chance, really, at hitting much. I guess here they would still hit these 2 buildings. But then on the other hand, Doom drops will be able to unload without SimCity issues, which other factors depend more, I suppose, on whether it's a successful Doom drop or not. And in TVZ, well, that's just, you know, ripe for Nidoswarms. So again, you do want to place buildings over there eventually. But back to this game. SKillous is in a lot of trouble, only recently getting ahead in the workers. And only by 4 is not very impressive. But one of the reasons that he is only ahead by this amount, as he actually gets a couple of zealots into the natural, is that he has been pumping units over and over again, and this was an excellent engagement from SKillous. 10 out of 10 right there. Did the best that he absolutely could. Still going to be in trouble because there was a drop in the main base. Just a single medevac drop. Going to cause some problems. Not actually all that many. The probes are pulled fast enough. The pylons are numerous enough to never have anything depowered, although that is one hell of an Artosis pylon right now. Fix that. And SKillous just, yeah, excellent engagement with the recall available too. That worked out so damn well. And that is exactly what a Protoss who takes that type of damage early on is going to have to do. Maybe if they... I don't know, if it's a different type of game, they could pump out 64 probes, whatever they need, to fully saturate 3 base and then produce an army, but that's very dangerous to do. In this case, SKillous, I think, did scale back a little bit on his probe production, or his chronoing of probes, what have you. Obviously, his gases weren't going to come down instantly in exchange for having those couple extra warp-ins, but the real kicker for that engagement was pre-splitting the army. And then on top of that, having a Guardian Shield with the Zealot army was really important. Would have been all too easy to forget that, had the Guardian Shield on the north side. And the cherry on top was that the Widow Mine splashed right in the heart of the Terran forces. So, excellent, excellent. And SKillous still is not recovered. So excellent engagement. Nicely done, but SKillous is still in trouble. Good engagement, good response to the main, a little bit of a Warp Prism harassment. Warp Prism did die, by the way, guys, but overall, still something that SKillous can't be comfortable with. Maybe it builds his confidence, which is nice, but it's not brought him fully back into the game. Fourth base now on the way for SKillous as he is moving on into Colossus. If he gets his 4th base saturated mineral-wise, has 3 Colossus and a shield battery, breaks 150 supply, which he is about to do, so that seems guaranteed. I think he's okay. I think he's done it, actually. Clem still has a very good army. He's going to have 1-1 upgrades against... Oh, actually, +2 will finish at the exact same time, so kind of equal upgrades. And now it is just about having units in the right position, which SKillous seems to be doing well, and he also gets another Warp Prism! And this time to the main base of his opponent. Natural also under fire. Clem is just going to punch it, try and go for it, but shield body overcharge might be enough. Actually a bit late to it is the only concern. Some of those frontline units already died to the power of Clem's bio, and that might have been 2 seconds too late for SKillous. Supplies have evened up, but because Clem is losing SCVs, not because he's losing that much army, Widowmines are going to burrow, not shoot on the probes. No need to do that. Colossus aren't going to be killing anything too soon, as there are nothing but Marauders and Ghosts left, each being healed by medevacs that have plenty of energy. It looks like SKillous, unable to save his 4th base, might have to give that up. But it's better to give that up and acknowledge that you just dealt a bunch of economic damage to your opponent than try and throw 2 Colossus almost by their lonesome at the remaining army. This way, SKillous might be able to play out the game yet again, but losing 1 Colossus by pulling it back too late is not a great start. The lack of extended thermal lance really shining right there as well, and even showing itself a little bit when it came to this engagement with the force fields, I bet. Disruptor is not going to be able to help out too much. Widowmine even still gets a shot. Kind of like salt in the wound, and Clem still has, I would say, the better position. He is down by 10 workers, but his 4th command center is finishing. Didn't get canceled. He's got mules. Big W on the mules. And he is able to save a very chunky part of his army. If this was 20 or 30 Marines, I'd be a little more scared, although it is only 1 Colossus. The fact that it is Marauders means that they're not going to die particularly quickly. The medevacs are running out of juice. So now we don't just have maybe the reliance on the disruptors to get that 1 shot, 1 kill, right? And a 1 shot anything here. In that case, if the bio does start to get into the Skittle range, the greens, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, then maybe the Stalkers and Colossus will also start killing some of those units. So that's something to pay attention to. We're in kind of that game right here, right now, where that could be an issue. But as time goes on, Clem is going to just boost up in that supply and have no problem running over SKillous. Well, Disruptors aside anyways. He's going to have to count the shots on that one. SKillous, I think, still recognizing that he is mostly dependent on Disruptors. I actually would not mind if he went back into Colossus, but what he also might be fearing is that a Viking count could be on the way. Since Clem's economic hit is not very easy for SKillous to determine, right? He knows like he did stuff to Clem's economy, but mules and how many SCVs were up at the third base, and okay, that fourth base was actually finishing. Like it's still up in the air. What if this guy could also afford 7 Vikings, and that's why he only still has 4 medevacs, right? And that in this particular game, I think it was just because he also did get hit economic-wise. He could not afford to produce too many more medevacs, but now he has. Now he is moving on to Vikings, getting the second starport. Perhaps Colossus are good, perhaps they're not, I guess. Before Vikings are out, probably would have been very dependable units. Now that Vikings are going to be out, well, it's just more about a classic engagement PvT-wise anyways, right? Which is, they're going to engage, Colossus do their thing, get a bunch of shots off, probably die to the Vikings. Does the Protoss remake them? Kind of stylistic. I know a lot of Protosses who spend chunks of time in like 40-minute PvTs that don't go into Colossus for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then go, you know what? Colossus. Minute 43, one Colossus makes an appearance, and you're like, okay, whatever, man. This game has settled, surprisingly. I still feel like Clem, I guess perhaps a little bit of the bias going in here because he was so close to winning. I still feel like he is in an okay position, but now we do have to talk a little bit about the balance, which I'll get into after this engagement. Oh, SKillous. Okay, he does see the incoming surround. Clem doesn't really want to give up any round here. He doesn't want to be pinched by the Disruptors. But I think he might have to. DTs are entering into the fray here. DT is having a minor buff, actually, which I'll get into in a second. Disruptors are running out of shots, and those Vikings are taking care of the Colossus, as I said they would. Holy shit, that was dangerous. Clem! Oh my god. Well, the micro on the front lines might be contributing to the lack of response to the DT in the main, but it will eventually be responded to. 14 SCVs go down. SKillous, with a lot less Disruptors to depend on, is only on these Stalkers. 3-1 versus now 2-1. Yes, the upgrades do favor SKillous, but it's Bio versus pure Stalkers, guys. We know how that looks, especially the Bio being healed up by each of these very full energy medevacs. Zealots will come in, try and go for a surround. Clem's gonna go ahead and rip and tear through the Stalkers to the left. Actually, an entrance. They could not stand up to it, but the Disruptors making an appearance. More Zealots coming into the game is going to force Clem back. Clem's still coming out of this with a 30 supply lead, only down by 11 workers. I'm once again feeling very confident for Clem. It's very close to SKillous choosing the right time to engage and getting the right time and type of engagement, but it's just a little bit shy. Him moving out in that last minute there was not problematic. Oh, the split. Oh, my God. It wasn't problematic. It was a good idea. It just was that Clem kind of counted the shots and paid attention to what Disruptors just shot, so he wasn't scared of engaging, and that's kind of what a Protoss with 6+ Disruptors is eventually going to depend on, right? SKillous is a good enough Protoss to mind his Disruptors, know they can't just shoot all of them at once, of course, but at a certain point, the kind of assumption is that both players have lost track of what's on cooldown and what isn't. Obviously, the Protoss can just tab over and see what is on cooldown, but you get the point. And then the Terran is supposed to be like, what? Like, can I? Can I not? Can I do it? And then Clem just knew he could go for it. So very unfortunate there for SKillous, who I think can play a very smart PvT. Certainly the evidence is here, and the fact that I personally believe he's made a comeback 2 or 3 times over. Is looking for a 4th one. But it's absolutely a struggle. Both players now moving on to a 5th base, however. Supply is really not all that different. This actually could still go in SKillous's way, but he's going to need another distraction to help out the Disruptor shots, really. Once again, a situation where the disruptors are out of ammo. One tucked in the back. No, okay, another one just got off cooldown. There was also one in the back. Waiting. But not having to be used. Might have been on purpose, might have been an accident, couldn't tell you. SKillous now getting a lot of DTs. This is a big investment for a guy who is struggling to count them pennies. His main is mined out, his natural is mining out. Clem's really not so different, but obviously with mules, at some point you can just slap them all down. It will be a decision, of course. Scans are necessary for the DT presence, right? They're also necessary to know where the attack is incoming. So it's not just as easy as saying mules would be dropped, but there is that option. So SKillous affording all these DTs. If they failed at killing this planetary, which they will not fail, it is already a goner, even Clem recognizes that, that would be catastrophic because they would be punished. The planetary would take down a couple before SKillous realizes it's not going to work. They're going to retreat into the bio that was stationed over here, which gives all the disruptors the EMP. 2 disruptors will survive, but oh man. SKillous leading on the front, assuming that he would pay attention to them in time. Not gonna happen. If that was the only 4th base on the field for Clem, SKillous would still be totally fine, but there was actually a 5th, already a planetary. If he gets that as well, however... No, okay, he sees the ghost. He knows he has to evacuate. Better decision right there. Once again, living another day to try again. Upgrades have really evened up. We do have a +1 ship weapons for Clem, but nothing really contributing, gaining from that. No Liberators, no Vikings. Archons get depleted. Remember, EMP is a little less effective than it usually would be 19 minutes into the game without those enhanced shockwaves, but a bit better than its baseline EMP of the past. Shield battery overcharge has also been a little worse in this game. I think it's going to be most evident in a sustained damage type of engagement, which is what PvT often is. The Terrans firing repeatedly, but not necessarily one-shotting a lot of things in these big battles. That's where the shield battery is going to have the biggest nerf. And I forget the other ones, and I'll go into them in a second. But the point is, it has been razor thin for 18.5 minutes. Now it is very evident that Clem should win this game. 2 Colossus pop out to anchor. No longer depending on one disruptor shot to push this back. Colossus are kind of intimidating right now. DTs couldn't go for the planetary again. They're going to go for a bit of the soft underbelly that is a orbital, but now they are trapped. They choose the wrong way to disengage. Clem had an army waiting at the planetary, able to collapse in. Nicely done, as Clem also realizing he can just A, move at this point. SKillous taps out before that even happens. GG.